Welcome to the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast with me, Venus O'Hara. An orgasmic lifestyle is about reaching a climax in all areas of life, not just in the bedroom. Here, we dive deep with expert guests on topics like nutrition, spirituality, personal development, sexuality, and much more. Together, we'll explore lifestyle lessons to help you lead a life that's fulfilling, joyful, and unapologetically orgasmic. I'm your guide, Venus O'Hara. Welcome to episode 154 of the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast with Venus O'Hara. In this first quarter moon episode, we discuss bi-curiosity, bisexuality, and sapphic explorations or sexplorations. And we speak with Genevieve Lejeune, who is the founder of Skirt Club. And Skirt Club is a private members community for curious and bisexual women. And they also have some very unique events, and we'll find out more about those in the interview. I also review the book, You're Not the Problem, The Impact of Narcissism and Emotional Abuse and How to Heal. And this was an instant Sunday Times bestseller in 2024. It was written by Katie McKenna and Helen Villiers. And the episode ends with a guided meditation with affirmations for bi-curious and sapphic sexplorations. But first, let me share with you my own exploration of sapphic sexplorations. Wow, it's taken 154 episodes to get to the topic of bi-curiosity. I'm so glad we are here finally. And I can't wait to share with you the interview with Genevieve Lejeune from Skirt Club. It's such a unique concept, a female-only play party. And yes, bi-curiosity is a topic that I'm surprised that we have not had the opportunity to interview anyone in this field before. And it's something I've experienced myself, and I have my own take on it. So I'm really happy to share that with you here. And also in today's meditation, the affirmations meditation, it's all about embracing or sapphic desire, bi-curiosity. And there's one affirmation in there that feels very personal to me. And it is something like, it is actually, I release the need to define my sexuality. And this is something that meant a lot to me, or would have meant a lot to me, had an older version of myself traveled in time just to kind of tell myself who I was. I was incredibly confused when I first had experiences or feelings of bi-curiosity. Well, I'll just give you a quick recap. I've always been a kind of very sexual person, obviously with a sex podcast. That's obviously going to be true. And I think I had this appreciation of female beauty as I was studying fine arts and going to life drawing classes. And I really just appreciate the female form. And then I became a fetish model myself. I kind of went from behind the easel to in front of the lens. And yes, I've always had this appreciation of feminine beauty. And I really did, when I was drawing and painting and drawing, I really did love painting and drawing breasts. It's just so nice to kind of get your brush going around in curves and drawing nipples and making the nipples 3D with oil paint, you know. I really had lots of fun with that. And so I had a very, it's safe to say, a very big appreciation of feminine beauty. But then how did it become sexual? Well, I think I met someone and they kind of planted a seed in my life, and then she came back into my life at a later time in my life when I was in my late 20s. And at the time, I think I was becoming more aware of my sometimes toxic patterns with men. And I was kind of getting back into very, toxic dynamics of great sex, emotionally toxic kind of thing. And I've always been highly sexually charged. And I had started to develop a curiosity about being with another woman. And at first I thought it was simply a sexual curiosity, a sexual exploration. And it was kind of like a fantasy that was in my mind, but there was no one in my life who, let's say, could be my muse. It's like the women I actually knew in my life, I felt zero sexual connection towards. So it's very weird when that happens sometimes. You have these desires, but there's no kind of personification of it. And that's exactly what it was like for me. And also there's another interesting concept about, when does a fantasy become a desire? Because a fantasy can be something that just remains in your mind, but the thought of doing it could be a bit like, no thanks. But then the desire is something else. It's like, this is something I want to actually happen. So gradually it became a desire, and the desire became very, very strong. And then fortunately I met someone, or I had someone in my life who I could imagine actually wanted to be with that person. Not just because they had a female body, because that wasn't the first person who was available to me, but it was just the first person I truly desired. So it all started off as this kind of physical, sexual curiosity experience. But over time, I realized that I actually started to develop emotional feelings for her. And I remember the first time we were together, it was kind of like losing your virginity for a second time if you experience this. Well, it can be like that for a lot of people. And it's just very weird, even though you think, you've got the same body parts, doesn't necessarily mean that you know what to do with them. Because someone said to me, I actually saw something on a comedy show recently about, the first time with a woman, and this female comedian said it's like, when you lend your mobile phone or you use someone else's mobile phone, it's like you've got some basic concept or notion of how it works, but not really where all the buttons are. You might have to ask for help. It's kind of like that. I have a mobile phone too, but I don't know how yours works, kind of thing. And yeah, it was a bit like that. And it's just very weird having these different experiences of, let's say, undressing someone from the different gender than what you're actually used to. So I remember just taking a bra off and being like, oh my God, this is so weird. And then the feeling of 4 breasts together is amazing. But then what was really interesting as well is like that sex didn't end after the orgasm. It could go on and on and on until you just said stop. So sometimes it was going on for hours and hours and hours. But this is like basically a whole weekend it was of connecting with someone. And it was just such an incredible experience. And then when we were walking in the street, for example, like holding hands, because I was in cloud 9, it was so interesting. We got very good service in cafes. All these waitresses were just so nice to us. And I was just wondering, I just made me think about that bi-curiosity is a lot more common than we think. It's everywhere. And the kind of looks that we got of curiosity and intrigue from other women in the street was really interesting. I felt really happy just to walk down the street with her. And then when the weekend was over, I started to feel very confused, and something that I kind of opened Pandora's box, really. I was, wanting to have this experience. And then after the weekend, it was like, what next? And I want to explore this more, not just with her, but also with women in general, because this was a kind of long distance thing. And I wasn't really planning on having a relationship with this person. So I was in this very confused territory. And at the time, I wanted to kind of delve deeper into my sapphic exploration and be with more women. I wasn't really interested in being with men at that time, because I just realized that some of my patterns were not great, whereas this felt like a whole new exploration. And what really caused me a lot of discomfort was trying to put a label on what my sexuality was or was becoming. It wasn't clear to me. And I was just thinking, am I a lesbian? But I don't know. Am I bisexual? I don't feel the same attraction for both. Am I straight, just having an experience? And it was very weird. And I was doing all these like online Kinsey tests of like trying to, the Kinsey test is a self-assessment of sexuality, going from totally straight to totally homosexual. And then most of us are kind of like in the middle and going back and forth, because sexuality is very fluid. But I remember actually the second time I was having this discussion, I was sharing this with the woman who was my first, and she was like, as what's known as a gold star lesbian. She'd only been with women, so she never experienced any of this type of confusion about what she liked. It was very apparent to her for all of her life. So for me, I wasn't really sure I was going to get that much understanding from her. I already wanted to share about how confused I was about my identity. And then she said to me, listen, you're not a lesbian, you're not bisexual, you're just sexual. And I was like, you don't understand. But it was so funny because now with time and experience, hindsight, all of those things, I think she was right. And because I just assumed, well, you don't know what I'm going through because you haven't experienced it. But now that may be still true, but I do think now I'm just a sexual person. I just don't really like to have any labels attributed to my sexuality. But now I'm just so into men at the moment. And I remember having my 3-year sapphic exploration, and I remember very clearly when I went back to men, and it just felt so liberating because a lot of the times to actually have sapphic experiences, it was very clandestine and underground, almost trying to penetrate the lesbian vibe of Barcelona. And then the first question people ask you is, are you a lesbian or bisexual? And if it's bisexual, it's not the right answer for a lot of people because they kind of perceive you as a sexual tourist almost. Well, that was back in, over 10 years ago. But yeah, it was, and also if you didn't find someone on let's say a night out, then there were some kind of dating websites as well, which were quite busy on the Mondays, let's say, or Sundays. But so if you didn't actually find someone, let's say online or in a enclosed lesbian environment, then it was just not happening. It's very obviously you can meet someone anywhere, but it's not always evident when someone is into women or not. And I do think that I do draw a distinction between the lesbians and the kind of bi-curious, more flexible. It's a kind of different energy for sure. But I remember going back to being more open and desiring of male anatomy and energy, etc. And it just felt so liberating. I remember I was going to a networking event, just walking, thinking I could meet anyone tonight. Just thinking it was less clandestine and just less, it just seemed easier. And not that dating is easy, but it was definitely easier than just meeting people in two different environments. That was my experience anyway. But also you just don't have that. Sometimes, people, it's not something that you shout from the rooftops, I want to be with other women, unless you're actually in a place where that's allowed, such as a lesbian party, a lesbian disco or a club, or even a dating website. So that is my stint of my experience with sapphic explorations. And I just wish I could go back or to tell someone in that situation who's feeling a lot of confusion about identity is that you don't need to identify yourself. You don't actually have to label yourself, because labels can be very validating for people and can be very confusing for others if you don't feel that you fit into a certain label. And maybe it's I remember I always think of, let's say, if you think of, let's say, certain fetishes like a balloon fetish. If you grow up having a balloon fetish, which is a real thing, you could maybe feel very isolated and disconnected and, going to think that people don't understand. But then when you discover a community online of the balloon fetishes that are called Lunas, then you're going to feel, oh yeah, I've got this sense of belonging. Other people are like me. But so labels in that sense can be very, validating, etc. But for me, when I didn't feel like I fully belonged into any, it just felt like I had to make a decision that I wasn't sure to make the right one. But I think it's just okay to be fluid, and it's okay to not define as well, because I think obviously these definitions can often can be a result of who's in our life at the time. Not necessarily like I want women now, but it's just like I happen to be attracted to a woman right now, and then you never know when that ends. The next person could be male or female, you just don't know. But I just wish I could go back and just be more present and less focused on the definition of my identity. Anyway, that is a little bit about my sapphic exploration. So I can't wait to share this interview with you, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. Are you a bi-curious or bisexual woman? If you're curious about Skirt Club, visit skirtclub.co.uk. And when you join Skirt Club, you're stepping into a global community of like-minded, curious women where connection comes first. Membership gives you access to private group chats, meaningful conversations, curated in-person events all around the world, and a library of empowering content designed to support your personal journey. It's a space to explore on your terms in a safe and beautifully held environment. If you're excited to join, please be sure to use my code VENUS in the referral field on your registration form so that we know you heard about it here on the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast. So enjoy your explorations and visit skirtclub.co.uk. Enjoy. Now it's time for this episode's interview. We speak with Genevieve Lejeune, the founder of Skirt Club. Genevieve Lejeune, welcome to the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast, where every day is a climax. It's such a pleasure to have you here.
Oh, my pleasure is your pleasure, darling. So glad to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
My pleasure too. So, for those who are unfamiliar with your work, could you tell us what you do?
100%. I am the founder of Skirt Club, which is a community for bi-curious and bisexual women.
Oh, I love it. And for what inspired you to follow this path?
Myself, as a bisexual woman, couldn't find like-minded friends, and this, was a serious problem 15 years ago in London when nobody would dare say the word bisexual. It had a huge stigma attached to it. So, I couldn't find them in lesbian bars, and I couldn't find them in your local bars. So I had to find a way to identify them. There's no certain look or feel, right, to bi women. It's very difficult to figure out who they are. So I started a little community to meet up, and it blossomed into this. So pleased to say we're still here 12 years later.
Amazing. Oh, 12 years. I thought it was 10, so it's 2 extra years. That's amazing.
Yep,
Yeah,
since
yeah,
2013 we've been going now. So and now we're in 36 cities. So I guess there's lots of bi women in the world.
definitely. And actually, I've been doing this podcast. It'll be 5 years in August, and this is the first episode of anything sapphic. Imagine.
Oh no, that's terrible. I'll do my best to make up for that. We'll get extra sapphic.
Yeah, yeah. So it's something that's of interest to myself as well, because I think it was about maybe around 15 years ago as well. I was going through my big sapphic explorations, and I spent a lot of time in London. It was just Candy Bar. That was the only place,
Right.
and it wasn't. Yeah, I don't know. It was a bit small, and I find that the first question people ask you is, "Are you lesbian or bisexual?" So, bye.
Bye bye byes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to say though there was like dearth of lesbian bars for so many years, but oddly last year New York and London saw another two pop up. So
Mm,
something's in the water. Yeah.
okay. Oh, amazing. So tell us about what does Skirt Club do then?
Well, we mainly host events, live events, in real
Mm,
life events. Um, and across the 36 cities that we feature in, the types of events can get very interesting, and I know I can talk naughty on your podcast,
absolutely.
so
Let's bring us the juice.
so oh, it gets very juicy, trust me. We started out as a play party, and
Mm,
almost by accident, I'd host events at my home in my flat in Shoreditch, and that was really for like, girly fun. Let's get a burlesque performer for us. Let's get a mixologist, cocktail waitress in lingerie. We were getting like, just like a boys' club probably would behave, probably, I would say, except strictly women only, and we're going to have it our way. So we turned this my apartment into just like fun dancing in lingerie and hanging out with each other and playing spin the bottle, and then it got even more steamy, and then within a year it was 100-person orgy. So yeah, it can move very quickly, it turns out. I also noticed women were extremely horny when they were just with each other. There was something about the mask lifted or the veil lifted. The space felt very safe because it was women only, and they got to be someone else for a night. Everyone was
mm,
sort of using a pseudonym, and nobody knew who any each other were. I mean, none of us were friends in real life. We were. Um, Maybe afraid of bumping into our colleagues, so we were all just very careful to use different names. And like I say, back in those days, times were different. Now and then, maybe people aren't so bothered, but
I,
yeah.
I think anyway, it's just such a big thing to get your head around. You're just thinking of women's play parties. So, I mean, I
Yeah.
just it's just it's kind of very enticing and very alluring. So, um, is there some kind of like program that you follow in your events, or is it just are there kind of is there like a special welcome and then some rituals, or how does it actually work?
Yeah, we have a format, and it's been the same since I opened in 2013. There's a champagne reception. There's a very exotic or erotic, I would say, performance, and from anything from burlesque to contortionist, aerialist, fire eater. A woman performing for women, by the way, is a very special thing.
Okay.
There's always a theme. For example, the theme I'm just preparing for right now, I'm going to San Francisco to host I Want Candy. So very much candy floss and pink and sugar and sweets. And then I'm hosting one in LA the next week called Queen of Hearts, which has a based on the fairy tales of Snow White, but elevated into a different kind of take, a woman that owns her own heart. So there's always a fierce female independence theme behind it, stacking up with possibly a feminist tinge,
Hmm.
but always one where she's in charge of making her own decisions. And I think to empower women as we do in the bedroom, it has a really long-lasting effect on her confidence. And as we like to say at Skirt Club for 10 years now, confidence in the bedroom gives you confidence in the boardroom because that level of confidence, yeah, it shines right through. And I love women to be empowered. It's good for the planet, it's good for society, it's healthy in politics too.
It's amazing. Yeah. So tell us about bisexuality. Talk to us about bisexuality and how do you think it's evolved over the years? I mean, do you think people come to your party being bi-curious and end up being bisexual, or what do you think about these labels?
Yeah, very much. And look, we use the Kinsey scale to help them I understand
Mm.
themselves better because, the majority of our members have actually never had any experience when they come to us. And
Mm.
so typically at a play party, you've got 70%, I mean, on average, are women who've never been to an event before with us. And that does often translate into almost 70% who've actually never had an experience, like even kissed a girl. So they're extremely nervous, right? But
Mm.
also because they've come to a party on her own. Like
Oh, a lot of people
women
coming
don't go
alone.
to, yeah, women don't
Yeah.
go to events
Wow.
on their own. They go with their friends, but they can't bring their friends because they don't want their friends to know about this part of their life. So they're sort of like, they have to do this really brave thing where all the things their mother told them not to do, which is go to a stranger's home and make out with a bunch of strangers and not know where this place is or ever been to before and no one there and etc. So, it's daunting. Um,
Mm.
which we get. And so we do a lot of hand holding, and the hostess team is always like at least seven or eight women who've, had their first time once at Skirt Club and know exactly how to help her through that process. Um, and it
Mm.
involves a glass of champagne to calm the nerves to start, and then just helping her quickly make friends
Mm.
because that's and having a theme and dressing up is part of that, right? Because now you've got something to talk about, something in common. You both had to dress up that night. I
Mm.
love listening to women compliment women. Wow, they are just so generous with those
Mm.
compliments, and it
Mm.
makes you feel $1 million. When a woman notices, what you did with that eyeshadow or that hair, um, maybe the little things that men don't often notice, right?
Mm.
So it's beautiful dressing for women. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, so how did it come from? So it was in your apartment in London, and how did it become a global movement?
Oh, goodness, step by step, honestly. And I watched new communities be born today, and they ask, well, how did you get global so quickly? And uh, well, we weren't allowed to advertise, as any adult
Mm.
brand can tell you. There's no shortcut there. The reality is we had great word of mouth.
Literally.
Yeah, literally. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, there's nothing like Skirt Club in the world. Still isn't. There's no other women only play party or community that's based on her sexual preference. Um, so we had that uniqueness, and yes, we were talked about a lot in the press. Certainly, there were our brand video went viral for the short time YouTube allowed it and then shut
Mm.
us down. But we were covered in tabloid press, we were covered in magazines. I count 360 publications that Skirt Club
Mm.
has been interviewed for, as a
Wow.
featured article. That's unprecedented, when we didn't have a PR person.
Mm.
We had a unique original idea, and
And a
that's
need.
why.
Yeah. So
And
what was the
demand.
next step after London? Where was the next place you went?
Berlin, a
Okay.
very open, friendly city.
Mm.
Um, and actually, and as that happens typically with Skirt Club, a woman came forward, a member, and said, "Hey, I live in Berlin. I want to open it here." Um,
Okay.
and we were surprised. We were like, "Oh my God, that sounds really hard. I'm going to translate it into German." She's like, "No, I'll take care of it." And she
Mm.
did. And we went over there to help her launch it. And she just ran that party, once a month in Berlin. It pulled in a very expat American audience,
Mm.
especially since the dress code was very like upmarket,
Mm.
sexy latex and high heels. Berlin is not that. It's Doc Martens and grunge, right? So it was a contrast to what was again, original and different. And I think the small expat community that lived there was like, oh, refreshing, something we're already familiar with from our past lives. We would like this, yes, and we're happy to pay for the ticket. And it attracted a different audience.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah.
And
And
so
then
is it
when
like a franchise or something, or do you kind of like state you're still in control of all the global
Yeah, I'm
policies?
still 100% the owner and in control of the brand and how it's expressed. And honestly, I think that's incredibly important when you want to
Mm.
maintain an essence and your word. You know,
Yeah.
I'm very attached to, if I make a promise, I keep it. I'm British, right? So,
Mm.
I want to stand by the integrity of the brand that I created. Um, yeah, and the best way to do that is to really train and support the person on the ground. And I will always fly in probably for the first and second event to make sure that the standard is set. And then we have weekly meetings to keep in contact with the local team.
Mm.
So that's how we've grown our team. We're now 200 ambassadors,
Wow. That's
community
incredible.
managers and event managers,
Uh,
um, and they were all a Skirt Club member once. It's
wow. So how do you support women through this journey of, let's say, the confusion of sexuality? Because it can be very confusing when you have a bit of curiosity and then it becomes, you know, start asking yourself questions. Do you have any support with that kind of that situation?
Yeah, the biggest question is, oh my God, am I gay?
Mm.
I'm married to a man. What does this mean?
Mm.
And no need to freak out. There's plenty of gray space in the middle between straight and gay that we can explore.
Mm.
And you're going to find out where you sit. You may be bisexual, you may be biromantic, you may be just curious, you may be straight and questioning, like all these things. Just come figure it out. This is a safe space where you can explore with nobody in your real life watching. So you can't make mistakes. They won't be recorded. No one's going to bring it up again. You can use a pseudonym. Like it's a great way to experiment and
Mm.
explore with women who are there for the same reason. Um, and I think that's really important for her to not be judged, right? This is what
Mm.
women are so afraid of because
Mm.
sometimes we're not very nice to each other,
Mm.
um, and I have noticed that you bring one man into the room, the whole atmosphere changes, and suddenly there's competition, and they're not so friendly. Uh, it's been a great social experiment, and especially at a time when we're talking about women's rights and feminism, and women really need to get along better for that to actually work.
Mm.
Um, and so it's been a great place to birth that sort of sisterhood.
Mm.
And I'm proud to say that what was, originally a play party is very much now a community of um, bi besties,
I love
who
that.
I call them BBFs, right? But they can like make friends who are like-minded and not have to explain to each other who they are because we get it, and
Mm.
it's really supportive to have that.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where we're at.
Definitely. I remember when I was going through my own explorations, I was really a big fan of the L word.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
great show.
So that was kind of back at the same kind of era. But I remember, I mean, everyone had their favorite character, the one that they actually
Yeah.
fancied, but the one they also identified with. And I identified with Jenny quite a lot, in the first couple of series because she went a bit crazy at the end. But I just remember, she was a character for those who haven't watched it, that she was actually with a boyfriend and then she became a voyeur, seeing her lesbian neighbors get it on, and she got very, very curious. And she's also a writer, so it kind of like really resonated with me. But I remember was watching her and Marina's affair unfold, and the confusion that emerged from it. And I remember feeling like that too, because I felt like my first time with a woman just really confused me a lot because I was starting to question myself, like, what am I? And now at this newness, I was kind of bored with men. I kind of felt like
Mm.
I knew that territory, and I was open to a new dynamic, I suppose. And I didn't expect it to be potentially emotional. I thought it was just a kind of sex tourism kind of thing at first, and then it became something else. And I remember speaking to the girl who was actually a lesbian, the first girl I was with, and I told her I was very confused, and she says, "You're not lesbian, you're not bi, you're just sexual." And I was like, "You don't understand." But then now I'm like, actually, actually, she was right, so I don't really use any labels anymore.
Well, labels get you in trouble because then you have to commit to something. When
Yeah,
ultimately we're all just very fluid, and
yeah.
how I feel in the morning is different to how I feel in the evening. It's that fluid. So, um, yeah, and we have the right to choose what we are. So yeah, yeah. Don't get too wrapped up in the shit. I'm gay. You're not. You haven't found out yet what you are, and it'll be
Mm,
different tomorrow. So yeah, go
mm.
with the flow.
Definitely. Here in Barcelona, it was 2008, 2009, and there was actually a bisexual forum here, and I was working in real estate at the time, and that's how I kind of started. Because I had this curiosity, but I had no friends to go out with to a lesbian club. So I met this girl, and then she was in charge of this forum for bisexuals, and we all used to meet and go to the lesbian bars. And it's so interesting because over the time over the years, a lot of these girls have actually ended up with women in the end, and they've kind of become lesbians. And some of them, when they were going out, they all had boyfriends. They had this pact where you can kind of go out and do what you want, you know. And there's this story that I find really horny. Right, there's one of the girls. It was the one who was my friend who ran the forum. She had an agreement with her boyfriend, like, if you don't come home, I know where you are, kind of thing. So she went out, had this experience with the first woman that she was with, came back at 8 a.m. And then the guy just like shagged her, like, like man. So she's like completely confused after all this kind of gentle experience with a woman
Oh
for the
yeah.
first time, and the guy like, but I find that very confusing sometimes because it was like losing virginity again. It's just like you think you know yourself, well, and just because you've got a female body doesn't mean you know how someone else's body works.
No,
That's a
and they're all
big thing.
different, as a woman
Mm,
who's met many women, like
mm,
you understand your own body, but trust
yeah.
me, the way she's worked, like it's going to be different for every single one of them. Like you can use some basic rules when it comes to
Mm,
going downstairs, but like
mm,
don't expect them to be the same. No,
yeah.
all women orgasm differently.
Wow.
Yeah, I feel sorry for men actually, because that's a tough one to learn every time.
Yeah. And do you think women are more kind of sexually confident with other women?
No, I think it's the opposite.
Okay.
Um, that is one of the hurdles for us actually, getting her to feel confident enough to approach another woman, even at a play party for women only.
Mm,
It's a lot of Dutch courage initially, right? A couple of
mm,
glasses of champagne. It seems to help a lot of people. These days, we have a
mm,
lot of women who don't drink alcohol anymore, right? So,
mm.
um, I'm teaching them tactics. Okay, so she's looking at you. Do you see that? Yes. Okay. Look back at her. Give her a coital gaze, as I call it,
Uh,
engage with her. You know how to work that. If that was a
mm,
man, you know exactly what to do right now. Just
mm,
because she's female, don't let that put you off. Like, go ask her a
mm,
question, strike up a conversation, and then the fear, oh my God, what if she rejects me? I'm gonna be devastated. Like, you wouldn't care if that was a guy. Like, come on, like, just
mm,
women are so afraid of making a move on another woman. That is the hardest part, I think, for them.
Oh, I think so
Yeah.
too, because I think the hardest thing is it made me kind of, realize that we have a lot of privilege in the straight community because you don't really have to do anything. You just kind of wait
Right.
for the guys to approach you, and that's kind of we have this privilege of of not really having to make the first move. But then when you're in an all women context, then it's like there's those stares, and then if nothing happens on a Saturday night, it was like then it was on the websites. They weren't apps back then, but it was then you're on the websites, like the lesbian dating websites too.
Right, I
Mm.
see. Okay, so you can find someone online if you weren't lucky in the bar.
Yeah, that's kind
Yeah.
of easier to approach on, online. It wasn't there weren't apps back then. It's like 2009. It was more websites, and that felt easier. But then it was interesting because then I kind of went back to men a couple of years
Sorry.
later,
Yeah,
and
go ahead. So I'll shut that
I
down.
I remember when I went back to mostly being with men about three years later. I remember feeling kind of I was going to a networking event and I thought anything can happen tonight because I think in these kind of the bi or lesbian worlds, it's a bit clandestine. It's only in certain contexts because you can never really know what someone's preference is. It's quite difficult to kind of you know notice, I suppose.
Yeah, I suppose
Mm.
if you've got like specific kink preferences, then it really helps to have an app that can get specific quite quickly and match you on that. Um, I think with Skirt Club members though, they're just like, I just want to kiss a girl.
Okay, they're
Yes, like
curious. Hmm.
yeah.
Mm.
And women love kissing. Like they really
Yeah.
love kissing more than sex, I think.
Mm.
Um, So yeah, there's a lot of like, just let me have a go at this for my first time, and then it gets more into, well, I really liked her, and and then we don't see them again for a while, and they've ended up going and getting quickly into a relationship or seeing each other on the regular, and then they
Mm.
come back in 6 months and they're like, oh well, we broke up, so I'm here for a new girlfriend. Like, okay, 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 I see.
Mm.
That's kind of nice.
And there's something I love on your Instagram is that you have this lost property carousel. Tell us about that, if for those who haven't seen it.
Oh, I did this literally right at the start, thinking it was hilarious. I woke up in the morning and I found like 10 pairs of knickers, as I started to clean up the house, like, pull out a bra from behind the sofa and then like what? And I found a coat, like one shoe, and I'm like, how does this person get home in the cold, wet London night, And so I took a photo of it and put it on my Insta, and like people were just like, whoa, like
What did you do last night?
I remember in New York there was like the New York parties were wild. Oh my God. We've definitely like tamed it down a bit these days, but like right at the start, like oh my goodness. I remember this girl, she'd lost everything, and it was the same conversation at 2:30 a.m. I've lost my dress, it's black. Can you help me find it? I'm like, there's like 1,000 black dresses over there. Like there's a pile of them and it's dark. I'm it's going to be important. And usually they're just like they start like pulling things everywhere and creating even more of a mess, and displacing other people's things, right? So anyway, she wanted to go home. She'd probably had too much to drink, so I just got a sheet, wrapped it around her toga, stapled it in place. I'm like, let's pop you in an Uber. I took her down the stairs, made it look super normal.
Mm.
Opened the car door for her, popped her in to make sure she didn't fall over. Closed the door. Thank you. Goodbye. Safe
Mm.
journey home. She's like, oh, I'll call you in the morning. Like, you can keep the clothes. So as it happens now in my storage unit, I have like about 2,000 items of lost property from over the last 12 years. And
Wow.
it is everything. I mean, there's even a passport in there, like, some cash. She'll always want earring because women always take their earrings off and put them on the bedside table and forget about them. The random stilettos, a boot, belts, like all the lingerie you can think of. And I'm thinking I need to do something with all this. And I suspect one day there'll be like an art installation. Maybe the Museum of Sex would like to host that, that kind of thing. Because there's such, so many stories in those
Mm.
lost knickers.
Do you make a pact in your events that nothing, everything stays within those four walls, or?
Yeah, what happens at Skirt Club stays at Skirt Club, and everybody who works on our team is under NDA,
Mm.
because there are people who are well known, who attend
Mm.
our events as well. Everything. And then there's just also teachers and doctors who don't want that kind of information shared. Um,
Mm,
so we provide that comfort of privacy by bringing everyone under an NDA and make sure everyone realizes we're in the same boat here, ladies. And we need to help and support
mm,
one another and
mm,
fulfilling our purpose by understanding who we are and then living by that rule, living aligned, living authentically, which is, what set me free in the first place, back in those days. And I just want for every other woman who chooses to walk her own path. A lot of
mm,
us still so afraid to do that. We live in fear, fear of rejection, fear of like society not accepting us, and like that's
mm,
just got to stop. Like, and it's just one brave woman at a time, and with the support of others, and
mm,
eventually it's a mass number of women, and it pays turns, and now we're living in a free life. So, when I do the Tuesday night orientation call for Skirt
mm,
Club, all our newest members join, and I tell them a little about the club, and I ask them to introduce themselves, and I say, "Hey, how did you hear about us? And what is it you're looking for?"
mm,
And they have to really think about it, and there's no there's no one in the background being like, "Tell them that you want a hot blonde that you want to bring home to your husband." Like, no, we've eradicated that. You're here for you. He has nothing
mm,
to do with this. Do not even tell him what goes on. Let's hear what you want. And then she gets real about it. And the most surprising thing is listening to them say, "Well, I heard about you 3 years ago, but I didn't think it was
mm,
the right time, or I didn't have enough courage, or like I was waiting for the right moment." I'm like, what right moment was that exactly? This is really just now. Like, now is good enough. And like over COVID, that was so apparent. Everyone suddenly, it's now, because
mm,
life became really short all of a sudden. And my God, I hadn't lived the life I wanted. And it was like a moment. So many women just woke up and
mm,
saw their sexuality as something for themselves.
mm.
Um, yeah. And so
So how did that
it was
affect
fun.
Skirt Club then? Because you couldn't do in-person events. So what else did you? How else were you supporting your community?
Well, that's when we started doing online events.
Mm,
We've had this funny Tuesday night call called Skirt Club in Chastity, and we'd we start like the first hour off, and there'd be like 60 women on the call, all over
uh,
the world, some hiding in cupboards away from their children, others like so lonely.
mm,
And it was a real source of support, actually. That's when I started to see the real community aspect of Skirt Club. Um, so that was really lovely. And of course, we start off talking about some political topic, just to bring structure and like
mm, mm,
gravitas and to be
mm.
informed. And by the end, everyone was showing off their new lingerie set.
Oh,
So,
oh, funny. So what's one of the biggest myths about bisexuality?
that it's 50-50.
Mm,
It's not. It's your flavor of that
mm,
90-10, 80-20, whatever, like, and
mm.
either
It
side. Like,
changes, yeah.
that you can enjoy sex with a woman, but that doesn't mean you have to partner with a woman.
Mm,
You can enjoy the sexual aspect of it. The other things I realized was that women actually just find a lot of safety in other women.
mm.
A lot of attraction comes from feeling safe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Orgasm takes place in a safe environment, not a scary one.
Mm,
And women just aren't that threatening, they hold
mm,
space beautifully. They're going to listen. They're going to hear your story. They're going to
mm,
listen attentively, and they're going to share their own with you. And that exchange, that intimacy, that closeness that women can bring to each other is um, really the foundation of why they can let go and be
mm,
sexual as well with one another. And then sometimes not sexual and still have the same gratification of
mm,
intimacy, because that's what women crave. And
mm.
and they can't always get that at home with their husband or male partner. So they find it at Skirt Club.
Yeah, I think it's for me, it's like the sensuality more than the sexuality was the thing that I really appreciated most about women. Something I remember watching something the TV can just be such an erotic experience where you're just like stroking someone's hair and then like the breast, like four breasts is like an amazing with coconut oil. It's just like
Mm,
there's just so much. You don't have to kind of take it to that stimulation level. It's just a lot of, and you're kind of changing the sex script as well. Because I gave a talk just a couple of days ago about this. I've got this course called The Gift of Pleasure, and most sexual encounters, like male, female, is like kiss, caress, undress, manual stimulation, optional oral sex, penetration, male orgasm, game over. And that's how 90% of sexual encounters are.
yeah.
And I remember when I first was with a woman, and one of my ex friends with benefits was just couldn't understand, like, what do you do without a dick? Are you just using strap-ons all the time? It's like, no, no, not at all. So it was really open. It just really opened my mind to new pleasure paradigms.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think women fully understand that sex isn't just penetration because we're very sensual and we love touch
Mm.
and engagement. Um, I would love to teach men that too.
Yeah, maybe that's a good thing for. So tell us what's happening with Skirt Club online. So what else are you doing? You're bringing an app out, is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, and the app is about to launch, and it's leaning more into the community side of Skirt Club. So now we have a home for you to engage better,
Mm,
through group chat events, matching or so, but from the standpoint of femininity, we're
mm,
embracing our feminine side. We're understanding what that means. We're bringing in guest speakers to take over the app for a week and lend us their wisdom. Everyone's got a story, and
mm,
then there are aspects of our body that we just really would like more information on, that topics that are banned on Meta, that can't be spoken because, ooh, I don't know, something might happen. But key to having a healthy life, like,
mm,
I'm personally going through menopause right now, and I didn't know anything about it until it started happening to me, and I'm like, holy crap, what do I
mm,
do?
mm,
And then, all the text messages come forward, and I'm like, what? Can't I just go to my doctor about this? And they're like, maybe not. You might want to try this first. I'm like, oh, wow, we can't go through the system for this. Um,
mm,
but just that collective knowledge, all the tips and tricks, like, I just, I can't find much on, Instagram about some topics I'd love to explore because they're
mm.
sexual. Yeah, I mean, even the hashtag women only got shadow banned for a while. So,
Oh,
you know,
wow.
and we were shadow banned for like 5 years, and it's like
Mm,
I need to be able to reach women who need a safe space to come to,
mm,
um, and we should be allowed to do that. So, it's frustrating at the best of times. And
mm. But obviously, Skirt Club's going to be that platform then for these conversations. Mm.
I want it to be, because we need to have one, and
Yeah.
we have a community that's just really desperate to be able to better communicate with each other. So that's what we're going to provide.
Especially for those people who don't live in one of the cities where you have events. Yeah.
Especially, yeah, and a lot do fly in, but again, it's an expense. It's a challenge for some. There's fear also alone as a woman to do that.
Mm,
So having a little group of friends first on on the app that you can meet up with in real life, and just have good friends who get it. It's really nice. Yeah,
Their complicity, so important. Yeah.
yeah.
Are there any books or series that have inspired you on this journey that are about,
Yeah, I
sapphic
mean,
topics?
It's the, I mean, I do love books that have been written during this journey that we've ended up featuring in as a result,
Mm,
because we are probably the only living example of it being a true story. There's Julia Shaw's book Bi, that's a great history of
mm,
how bisexuality came to be. Um, and then there's, I'd say, Dr. Wednesday Martin's book Untrue, about how women actually have huge sexual appetites, contrary to
mm,
belief. And she, talks about us in chapter 6, and how watching us was similar to watching bonobos in paradise, who we just love fucking each other, each and every single one of each other at any time of the day.
I really love that book. Who wrote it? Tipping the Velvet. Who wrote that? Because I used to read all of her books, like history and You know that? You know the one I mean?
Yeah, that's back in the, is that 70s? No? That's
No,
quite a while back.
it was about 20 years ago. But the woman who wrote it, she's a historian, so all of her books are just incredible. Um, Sarah Waters.
Mm.
So it was 1998. Oh my God, I didn't know it was that old.
I was at university, so
Yeah, me too.
no, it was
It was a bit before my, that was like 10 years before I even tried all this, but it was just such an incredible book. I even got the original. It was being passed around my friends. It was just like, oh my God, read this. So I inherited a copy. It's got very dogged corners on the pages, but it's just so interesting about that, when that feeling of, you think you are one way and then something else unfolds. It's just that newness, which is really, really beautiful to
yeah.
look back at, but it's very confusing at the time though. And there's all these other stories that she's got as well. It's all like set in the past, in Victorian era. So there's even that massive stigma of being under, being clandestine, being a bit cloak and dagger back in those days. And there's actually a BBC trilogy of it. It was just so risque. It's very risque, and they had this underground community of lesbians with this big strap-on dildo, like this golden dildo. It's just hilarious.
Golden.
But that's
Is,
just a
is
bit
this
of a
like
myth.
is this like Lady Chatterley's Lover? Is it similar to that series? Did you ever watch that on
Oh
BBC?
yeah, I watched that years ago because that was like on a Sunday night, and everyone was talking about it at school on a Monday with Jolie
Yeah,
Richardson.
something like that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
But I read the book, and that was good. But then there's a newer version of it, which just doesn't seem to be as shocking because I think we're more open to that type of thing now. On
yeah. The
online.
newness has gone. But I
Mm,
still like remember like kissing the first woman I embraced, and I remember thinking this is like doing it all again.
mm,
And I was so thrilled that there was still something else I hadn't learned or discovered yet. It was like losing my virginity again. It felt so good.
mm. But it's interesting. I mean, I'm quite spiritual, so I always think that when something feels so good, it's like a guide, like pushing you into this direction. Was it like that for you starting Skirt Club? It was so
Yeah.
strong that you had to do it.
No, Skirt Club was a dream.
Mm,
I'd made reality. People ask, well, where did you get the idea from? It's like, well, there were some practicalities. Like I needed a group, but like I had a dream. It was called Skirt Club, and yeah, and that was it. I saw the logo, and the website was done within a couple days. Like it was a very quick, like I know what I'm doing.
mm,
And nothing would stop me either. Like the force behind me in producing this
mm,
community was like unrivaled. I don't know where all that energy came from. Um, I can't explain it. It's one of those. It was like 10-year mission, and I went hell to leather. Like I did not stop to take a breath the
mm.
entire decade. Now we're in year 11 and 12. I have hired a team. So it's less on me, which is great
Mm.
because I would have absolutely killed myself if I'd continued at that pace. But yeah, I was possessed, and I believe that was my spiritual path. And I know to this day it was my purpose and my contribution to this world.
Mm.
So I feel very fulfilled by delivering Skirt Club.
Amazing. So how would you like to see it in the next 10, 12 years?
Oh, just expand and be able to reach all women everywhere. And so she can have her place in this
Mm,
discovery, self-discovery, and not feel ashamed of it.
mm,
It's really important that women no longer feel ashamed of their sexuality or their own desire or being able to express authentically. And yeah,
mm.
no more judgment.
Amazing. I'd love to hear. I hope a book comes out of this. That would be
It's with my
amazing.
editor right now.
Oh, amazing. That'd be so cool. So juicy. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I made sure there was a sex scene in every chapter, right? Because I know that's what you're reading it for. Like,
But also just
not not
the
the
inner
entrepreneur.
narrative of that. I think that's really alluring, the inner narrative of someone going through that, and just how relating to that discovery is really beautiful. It can really open up, other people's worlds as well. Mm,
Yeah, no, that's what it's there for,
mm,
to shine a light.
mm.
Um, Look, it just takes one person to go first, and then
Yeah.
everybody's got, oh, the door's over here. Okay, we'll go through it now. It's
Wow.
just that's all you need.
Mm,
Yeah, and I think Skirt Club really shocked the world. They did not see that coming, that women would take the bedroom into their own matters. And of course that
mm,
caused a lot of uproar with men who felt initially jolted that there was no invitation for him. That
mm,
I was outraged. I mean, I mean, I'm on like my. It's amazing how many people got really upset about it, and
mm,
I was like, why are you so upset?
mm,
I'm allowing her to find sexual liberty, and allowing her to be more herself, and that was such a threat to a lot of men.
mm,
These days, I get a very different conversation from men. I hear,
mm,
"Oh, you're doing God's work. Thank you for
mm,
opening her up, and she came home happy, and we have a better sex life for this." So 10 years, a lot changed, my God.
mm,
And we're not underground anymore. We're out and proud. And, women are still nervous, but they're coming to us with his blessing and his
mm,
support, and that it's a healthy choice.
mm.
Um, yeah, I love that. It's
Do you
great.
think the heated rivalry has kind of opened up more conversations about this in general, even though it's a different story? Because it's really
I
interesting, that
haven't
whole.
seen it yet, I mean, look, obviously, I saw someone joked with me the other day, why don't you start an app called Grind Her? Like, as catchy as that sounds, it won't actually work
Yeah,
because women don't hook up in bathrooms 5 times an hour.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Maybe that's for another in 20 years or so.
Maybe if we
Yeah.
get hornier, even hornier.
Mm,
But yeah, on the flip side, I believe men should have the same ability to explore bisexuality without judgment. And I have a
mm,
lot of male bi friends,
mm,
um, especially where I live in Miami, right?
mm.
And so I try to start. Actually, I tried to start a bi boys club some like 5 years ago, and I just couldn't get a single man to put his face on it or own
Yeah.
it.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
not one. Sorry, it's still
Wow.
lingering in the background somewhere
Amazing. A couple of questions I ask all of my guests. What's the
there.
book that changed your life?
Oh, okay. Well, if you want to go back to 1990 with me, there was a book called Forever by Judy Blume,
Oh my
and
God.
that's when I found out about sex.
I think I read it in 1989. Well, yeah, it was so crazy. Tell us about, I love this book. Tell us about your
But
experience
it
with
was just it's
Forever.
a
Mm,
simple story about a boy and a girl who meet, fall in love, and decide to have their first time together. And it's really beautiful because it teaches you how sacred it is to have sex in a way that is meaningful and both and planned and thought through. And I thought that was a really good example. And then they didn't work out, which also taught me that that's okay too. And
mm,
that's what it felt safe for me. It was the only blueprint I had for my first time, because
mm.
otherwise no one was talking about sex. Like it was like the taboo word. I mean, it's different these days, but
I've got to say,
yeah.
whenever I hear the name Ralph, do you
Oh
remember?
yeah. I called my hamster Ralph after that.
So for those who haven't read it, they're called Catherine and Michael calls his penis Ralph. So whenever I've met someone called Ralph and I shake their hand, I'm like, ooh. But it's just one of the most graphic. It's one of the most graphic novels about sex that I've ever read, and I read that when I was about 11 or something. But it was incredible because all of those questions that you had, like, does it hurt? Do you bleed? Like all these questions that no one was really answering. And Judy Bloom was so graphic, even in her book about "Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret," all about periods. Yeah, so it's
Yeah,
just really
that's
good to have someone who gets it, who understands that adolescent inquisitive mind who no one's answering your questions.
yeah.
Mm.
I met her son at a party recently.
Oh,
She lives in
really?
Brooklyn now. Yeah,
Oh, wow, is she still around?
still
Yeah.
around. Yeah.
Yeah. So and something that helped me a lot was More magazine. Did you read More magazine?
More.
Because you weren't in the UK, but
Yes.
Smart Girls Get
Like,
More. That's what inspired me to become a writer. Because I mean, all of my sex, I went to Catholic school, so it was none of that. But
yeah.
yeah, More magazine was just amazing. They had this thing called Position of the Fortnight and the difficulty ratings, and it was just fantastic. I used to collect them, and then Just 17 as well. And they used to have
Oh, I
this
like that one.
kissing guide. They used to have the kissing guides, and so it was just really interesting because that was my source of sex ed when I was when I was growing up. And I remember how, how liberating it was. And they said they were going to put More magazine as a top shelf magazine at the time. There's a bit of scandal, but I'm so grateful to that because in school we never learned about orgasm or contraception because it was Catholic. So that doesn't happen. Don't have orgasms. What's the clitoris?
Yeah, well, that was the same for all British schools. It didn't matter
Yeah.
whether it was Catholic, and it didn't. Oh, yeah, we just learned about plants and germination and biology in high school. So, but
Mm.
I had Just 17. I had More magazine. I think Top of the Pops had a magazine too. Yeah,
Smash
it's
hits.
smash it. That was it. That was it.
Getting the
Cosmo
lyrics of
Girl.
songs. Oh, I can sing along now. Yeah. You get some posters on your wall. Yeah.
This is what we did before iPhones. Like this is where we had to
Yeah.
come up. We had to have an imagination so we could come up with games to play with our friends. And Lyric Book was a great one. Like because you could start the cassette right and get the sing along. Yeah, it was great.
Amazing. And what about a quote or affirmation that you live by?
I used to say you only live once, but I don't believe in that anymore either. So I now say love is the answer.
Oh, love that. Amazing.
Love is always the answer. Yeah.
So where can people find you?
You can find me personally on my Instagram. It's Genevieve Lejeune, and my Instagram is private because I only allow women to follow me. That way we can feel safe expressing ourselves there without some arrogant comment from a guy. Um, and you can follow us on Instagram also at Skirt Club, or join our membership if you like, please. I really would love you to, at skirtclub.co.uk. Yeah, we're all over the world.
And you got to check out the lost property carousels because they are so juicy. Yeah.
Yeah, they're fun. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast, where every day is a climax. The book I'm reading now is You're Not the Problem: The Impact of Narcissism and Emotional Abuse and How to Heal. And this is by Helen Villiers and Katie McKenna. And it's also a Sunday Times bestseller. I came across this author, Helen Villiers, I hope I've pronounced her name properly, in the channel on YouTube called Luxury Academy. I just love this channel. It's so interesting. It's all about the luxury sector, and some of the conversations that are on there are just so interesting about the archetypes of wealth and protocols in the luxury sector, because luxury sector is not just about putting a higher price on things, it's also an expectation, a standard, and I just find it super interesting. And I just got curious about who she was, and then I discovered, oh wow, she's actually an author, a psychologist, and author of this book. And it's a topic that I've been navigating recently, and I'm really taking a deep dive into a lot of things that have been kept under my rug, if for lack of a better way of expressing it. And yeah, I'm really going to the core of a lot of things that I have been experiencing in my life, or patterns that I have. And this book came up in my radar, and it really did resonate with me. And I thought, yeah, and I just arrived a few days ago, and I'm just already devouring it. Because actually this year I'm going to taking a step back a bit from the excessive reading that I've done, because I've just read so many books over the last few years. And I realized that if you read too fast, you don't absorb as much. So I'm trying to kind of be more intentional when I'm reading, with what I'm reading and how I'm reading, so that everything penetrates my psyche in a much better way. So yeah, this book is proving to be very very comforting, and it's also providing a perspective on narcissism that I hadn't seen before, because I think I got interested in this topic last year when I interviewed Jocelyn Joan, who's the narcissistic abuse recovery coach. And yeah, it just then ever since then, I think my algorithm is kind of sending me all this information that some of it I haven't really even asked for, but it's kind of like coming into my radar. So I've become quite literate on this topic. And I do think the word narcissism is used a lot on social media, and yeah, I think it's kind of like a buzzword at the moment, and it's often misunderstood. And we are talking about, narcissistic personality disorder, which is a disorder that needs, some kind of psychotherapy kind of evaluation. It's not something you can just diagnose from someone treating you badly. It's that's not how it is at all. However, there are some behaviors that are part of narcissistic abuse, and I think if you are on the receiving end of these behaviors and they prove to be a pattern, not just one-off, I think the effect, it doesn't really matter if the person who's doing those things is a narcissist by definition or not. You're still on the other end of behaviors like grandiosity, lack of empathy, and lots of other things, which is it's just more. I'm seeing in this book that it's more complex than what I initially thought. And also there's the covert narcissist and the overt narcissistic person who's the ones who are very subtle and the other ones who are more obvious, because not everyone who has this who have these traits are kind of like super charming and out there and charismatic. Sometimes they are more kind of shy introvert people, so sometimes it can be very, very subtle. But I do think the dynamics of relationships and the psychology behind it is really interesting. It's interesting that sometimes what is toxic is not always clear at the beginning. Especially now in my life, I've just become to realize how important safety is. And safety is so important for, let's say, having a fulfilling sexual experience, but also an emotional one. So imagine if you're going to, let's say, get into a relationship with someone and then potentially live together. That's a really big, element of trust. Like you want your home to be a safe space, and you want the person to be a safe space as well. But if you're dealing with dynamics of someone who's constantly changing, someone who puts you down, erodes you, gives you silent treatment, all of those things, then that's not going to be a safe space. But we should also learn about these dynamics so we can, make informed choices about what type of relationships we are accepting in our lives. So this is kind of like a kind of a self-compassion book, I would say, and also just to try and heal as well, because we can't control how other people act or behave, but we can always control what we accept. And I know this is more difficult when you discover that the person you're with has these traits and it's actually part of a system. When you're, let's say, co-parenting with someone or getting divorced, that's when things can get very nasty. But here are some of the basic 5 main traits of narcissism: grandiosity, entitlement, exploitation, motivational empathy, and impaired self-awareness. And this book takes a deep dive into each one, and each one is can have different expressions. It's kind of very different in terms of if it's overt, covert, and then also sometimes some expressions of grandiosity or entitlement doesn't automatically mean that it's narcissistic either. There are healthy levels of such traits as well. And so this book is super interesting if you've been dealing with someone. It could be your boss, your parent, your partner, anything like that, to kind of understand where your patterns come from and how to spot them. That's a very interesting thing. So we can only control ourselves, of course. So this is a great way not just to be pointing fingers and analyzing other people, but really to understand what you have experienced, to validate it, and then also to learn how to heal from it and also prevent it, hopefully. So this book is definitely providing a different type of perspective on this that goes way deeper than what you normally see on an Instagram carousel. So I definitely recommend this book, You're Not the Problem: The Impact of Narcissism and Emotional Abuse and How to Heal. Now it's time for this episode's meditation. Please don't listen to this while driving or operating machinery. Instead, take a break from whatever you're doing, get comfortable, take a deep breath, and enjoy. I embrace my bi-curiosity. I allow myself to explore sapphic desire in my own way. I welcome new layers of connection. I trust my feelings as they arise in me. My attraction flows with ease and authenticity. I explore my sapphic side with openness and care. I celebrate my attraction to women. I embrace my bicuriosity. I allow myself to explore sapphic desire in my own way. I honor my curiosity about attraction to women. My interest in women is natural and meaningful. I embrace the beauty of discovering new parts of myself. My body responds with truth and clarity. I celebrate my attraction to women. I embrace my bicuriosity. I allow myself to explore sapphic desire in my own way. I feel safe to experience attraction to women. I am open to connection with women in ways that feel aligned. My desires are valid and worthy of expression. I move through exploration with confidence. I celebrate my attraction to women. I embrace my bicuriosity. I allow myself to explore sapphic desire in my own way. I trust my inner guidance in every experience. I welcome emotional and physical connection with women. I feel grounded and present in my body. My identity expands in ways that feel true to me. I celebrate my attraction to women. I embrace my bicuriosity. I allow myself to explore sapphic desire in my own way. I allow connection to unfold naturally and gently. I feel at ease exploring intimacy with women. I honor my pace and my personal rhythm. I trust the energy of attraction within me. I celebrate my attraction to women. I embrace my bicuriosity. I allow myself to explore sapphic desire in my own way. I release the need to define my sexuality. My interest in women is valid, even if I'm still exploring it. I feel empowered in my exploration. I welcome joy, desire, and connection into my life. I celebrate my attraction to women. Are you a bi-curious or bisexual woman? If you're curious about Skirt Club, visit skirtclub.co.uk. And when you join Skirt Club, you're stepping into a global community of like-minded, curious women where connection comes first. Membership gives you access to private group chats, meaningful conversations, curated in-person events all around the world, and a library of empowering content designed to support your personal journey. It's a space to explore on your terms in a safe and beautifully held environment. If you're excited to join, please be sure to use my code VENUS in the referral field on your registration form so that we know you heard about it here on the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast. So enjoy your explorations and visit skirtclub.co.uk. Enjoy! To find out more about me and my orgasmic lifestyle, visit venusohara.org or follow me on Instagram. The Orgasmic Lifestyle is also on Substack and YouTube, where you can watch all the interviews with our experts. All the links are in the show notes below. Make sure to search for the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast by Venus O'Hara in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or anywhere podcasts are found. And click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Thanks for listening, have an orgasmic week, and make sure every day is a climax.